Today I want to do something I haven't done in 25 years. Today I want to learn how to program. Well, that is, program in a new way. Today I want to try out vibe coding. I have this app I wrote many years ago. It's called Spectrogram. It's actually an iOS app, and it's just one of those little utility apps that's kind of fun to have around. Visual display of all the frequencies of audio it's hearing. So if I'm quiet for a moment, you'll see there's not much there. If I whistle something poorly, you can see the frequency shift of the tones I have. It's a small app, but it's a fun app, and for me it's a pretty useful app. Well, today I want to try to recreate it using vibe coding only. As this is my first time building a proper vibe app, I don't know if I'm going to succeed or not. I'm curious what frustrations I'm going to run into. I'm curious about a lot of things. So today we're going to be using Visual Studio Code for no better reason than that's the one I have the most experience with so far. I'm also going to, this is going to be a little tricky, but I think I want to try to make this a web app. Can we make this run in the browser with JavaScript? I'm a little concerned because JavaScript is not really known for doing high-performance graphics and high-performance mathematics. We'll see what happens. To kick things off, let's start with a blank prompt, and let's go into projects directory. Let's make something, not early vibes. Let's go for Vibogram. That's gonna be the name of the product. And let's code that puppy. So here is my blank VS Code project. Since we're vibe coding this thing, we're gonna need some chat here. We're gonna open up the chat. Hi, babe. Today I want to write an HTML, JavaScript, local only, that is single page app. The voice thing cut me off way too early. They gotta work on that delay thing. Okay, cool. So I've created an index HTML. Now I want to write a much bigger app, but we're gonna do it in pieces because I can't say everything all at once. So I want to describe what it is first. It's a real-time spectrogram app, so we need to get access to the user's microphone so that we can get raw data in, and then I want to perform Fourier transforms at time intervals over a window of that data, and then I want to display it in a horizontally scrolling window. All right, so it's proposing a directory structure here. So we got an index, a style, an app, and an FFT, and a package JSON for some reason. It just can't help itself. It always has to create a package JSON. Let's go for this. All right, so here we have our workspace and our HTML. This is cool. Let's view it. And here is our beautiful app. Real-time spectrogram. Cool. Let's start microphone. And absolutely nothing happens. Great. Let's start with the drawing code. I want to see something up on the screen, please. Okay, I don't know what any of this is, so we'll just say accept. All right, let's refresh the page. Uh-huh. And now it's asking if I want to use the microphone. Good, at least something's happening. Allow. And we've got a cool little grid thing and absolutely nothing displaying, but that's fine. We still have the start microphone button. I don't know if we still need it or not. Great, I see a grid and everything. I think our next task should be to actually get some audio buffers from the microphone and to start maybe drawing them in a side-scrolling fashion on the display. So we need to replace this draw spectrogram function with theirs. And let's test it out. Oh, do I have to click allow every time? Cool, I like that code, but nothing is displaying. I'm wondering, does the analyzer work? Oh, it says we should check for errors in the log. So let's do that. Oh, and I think we do have some errors. Okay, so we had an error accessing microphone. Attempted to assign to read-only property. There was an error. Alright, let's do this. Let's try to run it again. Allow. Oh, look at that. Okay, the whole app was just written for me. That is pretty darn good. Let's do our classic test. All right. Well, if we just compare it to my spectrogram app, we're doing pretty good. Looks like JavaScript has a lot of stuff built in, and we are getting some good data. All right. So let's get modifying this app though. I mean, this is a great start, but we want to adjust a few things, add some UI options, I guess. So let us take a screenshot of our own app here. And then I will drag that screenshot in. There's our app. And we will add some context here. Oh wow, that's fantastic. I wonder if we can add colors next. Is there a way to make the low energy stuff dark colors into a dark purple, and then the high energy stuff into bright yellows and oranges, and the transitions in oranges? Here's a screenshot. All right, so we are doing a bit more work now to convert our colors. I feel like, yeah, that's some interesting math. I'm curious if it's gonna work, but you know, it's done well so far, so let's just go for it. Let's apply in real time. Sure. All right, let's see what the app is doing now. Allow. Oh, still just black and white. It's still just black and white. Any ideas why the color didn't work? All right, it wants to change the code. So let's apply this. Let's allow the microphone. Oh, much better. Okay. Well, the colors still aren't perfect. We are getting closer to what I wanted. That's pretty good. The colors aren't perfect, but let's work on a different problem. I want to have multiple scales and to be able to scale the y-axis so I can see different frequencies. I'd like to have a linear scale and a logarithmic scale. Please help. And let's try it out. We gotta save our index. All right, here's our code. Switch to a logarithmic scale. Great. All right. So now we can actually display two different scales when needed. But it's a little bit hard to tell, so we need to modify more stuff to actually show the scale on the left-hand side. That's great, but I want to show the scale on the left-hand side. You know, at the bottom it should be the lowest frequency, at the top it should be the highest frequency. Make sure the scale updates when I toggle between a linear scale and a logarithmic scale. Great, let's keep those changes. And let's refresh the page. All right. The scale looks a little bit funky. If we zoom in and enhance, well, basically, it's just overdrawing itself or something like that. We're vibe coding though, so I'm not going to debug this myself. I'm just going to ask it what the heck is going on. The scale draws in a funny way. It looks like the text keeps drawing on top of itself, and so I can't actually read any of the numbers in the frequency scale. Do we have to do some kind of clearing or something fancy with the drawing to make it work? Alright, it's saying we do need to clear that area. It was a leading question, so I wasn't surprised it came up with that. It'd be nice if it just did some other trick, but that's good enough for now. Oh, there we go. Looks like the scale is displaying correctly now. So we have 0 hertz up to some unreadable number. If we switch to a logarithmic scale, oh yeah, much better. We can see, yeah, not many frequencies below 8 hertz, not many frequencies above 1 kilohertz, which makes sense for a person talking. And that's a much better scale than just the linear one where all the low frequencies get squished to the bottom. That's great. We are doing great. That's great, but the scale gets clipped a little bit on the left. Can we redraw it or make it wider or something like that so that I can read all of the scale? I think you used 50, maybe we'll go for a 100 scale. While it's doing that, I have to admit, this is pretty awesome. It's doing a fantastic job, to be honest. At this point, as a developer, I could take over this app and fine-tune the rest. This was just such a great start for me. It really exposed me to new APIs I didn't even know existed. I didn't know that audio analyzer existed. I thought we were going to have to write the fast Fourier transform ourselves. There's still a lot of work to polish this into a real app, but already it's doing roughly what I want, which is really impressive. So I think we're going to just keep going and just keep adding fine-tuning features because I'm having fun. Hope you're having fun too. Let's do some more cleanup. One thing I don't like is the canvas is not taking up the entire window here. This is really great, but I would love for the drawing to be full screen. Can you modify the CSS and all the layout and everything so that the spectrogram itself takes up the entire window, and then maybe the rest of the UI is overlaid on top of it? Fantastic. I don't even feel like reading all that. And let's refresh this puppy. Ooh, I like it already. Oh, beautiful. Now this is what I'm talking about. This is really fantastic, but since it asks for microphone permission in the very beginning, I don't think we need a start microphone button, and I don't think we're using the fft.js file anymore. Can we get rid of that? Now I have to admit, if I didn't know anything about programming, I probably wouldn't have cared about that fft.js file. I just noticed that it's kind of useless. It's just sitting there, so let's get rid of the thing. That's just me cleaning up code. I hate to have too much code sitting around. So let's apply that. Great, so got rid of the button, got rid of the FFT. Obviously I could have done that myself, but this is more fun. I think what I want to do now is have some buttons to increase and decrease the time resolution of the graph. Fantastic. I think for the next feature, I would like to be able to control the time resolution of the graph. That is, how much time is displayed. I guess this would come down to how big of a buffer are we analyzing and that kind of stuff. Can you add some UI so that the user can increase and decrease the resolution? I have to say, while that's working, this is really impressing me. It's just doing my job for me. This is a static website, so I can just host this anywhere. And if I do put it up on a server, I'll make sure to link to it and the GitHub repo. And let's go. All right, so we have our normal display. Let's decrease. Okay, so we have decreased the time resolution. It seems to just be going slow. Let's increase the resolution. And now it's going very fast. Fantastic, but I noticed that we are not displaying the time axis at the bottom. I would like to do that. I would also like to show that time axis in seconds. So we need to be able to do the math so that whenever the screen is resized or the window is resized, we redraw that scale, and that scale reflects the time resolution buttons at the top. Can you please add that horizontal scale for me? And it's added a new function, draw time axis, and we're going to modify our draw spectrogram function. And refresh. All right, so now we see the 0 second scale. It actually starts on the far left and we're clipping it away. That's fine, that's fine. And we're seeing roughly right now about 8 seconds or 10 seconds now that I resized the window. If I decrease the time resolution, then we see more time. If we increase the resolution, we see less time. Wonderful, but I've changed my mind about the horizontal axis. I think that the 0 second mark should be on the far right and the larger numbers should be on the left, so that the axis is basically telling you how long it's been since the event that it's displaying. Since it's doing all the work, I can just sit back and drink coffee. There we go. Now we have 0 seconds on the right, increasing in time. And if I click the button, we see that we can see at a minimum 2 seconds. If I click this button, we can get it all the way up to 20-ish seconds that we can display. This is fantastic. Wonderful. Now I would like to improve the user interface a little bit. The increased time resolution and decreased time resolution buttons should be a slider instead, and that slider should be somewhere toward the bottom of the screen. I don't care if it's on the left or the right, but do keep in mind the vertical margin we have for the vertical axis. Maybe we could just center it. So yeah, can you make those buttons a slider instead? And don't, yeah, okay. The one problem with the voice input is you can't, it really wants to get going, so you gotta think through your thoughts. Refresh, allow, and all right, so we got the time resolution here. All right, it kind of worked. Except I feel like when the slider is to the right, it should be more time displayed. When it's to the left, it should be less time displayed. So we'll switch that. And I think the switch to logarithmic scale should be on the top left instead. So I shouldn't be telling you, I should be telling the AI. Good, I like the centering of the slider, but can we change one thing about the slider? I would like, when the slider is to the left, that we are displaying a minimum amount of time. When it's to the right, we're displaying our maximum amount of time. So can you reverse how the slider works right now? Also, I don't like the position of the logarithmic button. Could we put that toward the top left somewhere? Okay, so now if we move to the right, it's slow. Move to the left. It's fast. Much better. I feel like there's an initialization problem though. I don't think that the slider is initializing to the correct position. The slider works great. I love it. But when I refresh the page, the slider's not reflecting the actual scroll speed. Also, the logarithmic button is still at the bottom of the screen. I would like to put it at the top, please. I think this is one of the trickier parts of vibe coding, is getting all those last little details in. You know, it got us to 80% very quickly. We had a scrolling spectrogram so fast, but all these little nitpicky things. This is going to take a bit more time, but also it's worth it. This is the fun part. Cool. We're gonna keep messing around with CSS until it finally works correctly. Hopefully. It's funny, I'm not even reading this code. I'm just applying it and hitting refresh. Oh man, it just cannot get this button at the top. Hello, you're doing great, but that logarithmic button keeps showing up at the bottom of the screen and not the top left like I would like it to be, or top center. I don't care which one. No, that's not true. Let's make it top center. Can you please fix it this time? Okay, I wonder if something else funky is going on here. It could just be, let's check for errors. Number 1, nope, that's fine. Let's make sure that we have caches disabled. Caches are disabled. And this button just refuses to move to the top. Now, I could apply my software engineering knowledge and try to debug the problem, but let's give the AI one last chance before we break down and actually do some engineering here. Okay, for whatever reason, the button keeps showing up at the bottom of the screen. Would you please analyze all the code and figure out what is going on with that silly thing? The CSS seems right, but it's still at the bottom of the spectrogram. Maybe it's something with our HTML? I gave it that little hint about the HTML because it's my guess that it's just stuck inside of this controls div, and that's the actual problem. Yep, the issue might be caused by the controls container in your HTML. There we go. Okay, it needed a little bit of prompting. I used a little bit of my knowledge of HTML to fix it, but let's see if with those little hints it can do a bit better. Let's apply these changes. Great. Refresh. And there we go. Now we have our logarithmic scale. Fantastic. I'm really impressed with this app, and it's finally behaving the way I want with the button up there. But there's one thing that's been annoying me this whole time, and then that's the blue background. Let's just make it a black background because it's not getting my full color theme the way I want. So let's just ask it to switch the background to black. Wonderful, that fixed it. Now just one last thing, let's go back to the colors of the spectrogram. Right now, the cold color, the no power color is bright blue. Let's make that black instead. I still want the nice gradient, the nice oranges and reds and purples. Preserve as much of the colors you can, but the no data color should be black, not blue. There we go, and there's the changes. Let's keep those changes and see what we've done here. Oh yeah. Oh, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. This is looking a lot better. And if we switch it to logarithmic, we can see really well what's going on here. We can speed it up, slow it down, and we get all of our data. Beautiful, beautiful. I think that we are gonna call this an app. I'm blown away. I was about to say prototype, but honestly, this app has a lot of the features that I would expect out of a high quality pay for app. Now, it's still missing a few things. I don't think the color scheme is perfect. We have lots of jaggedy bits on it. You know, it's not a nice smooth spectrogram. We could probably refine those things. Still some drawing issues with the scale clipping off the edges, but at least the window resizes. Oops, we lose all the data when the window resizes. But I gotta tell you, this is a fantastic start. As a developer, I could easily take this code and start modifying it. But also as a developer, I've really enjoyed this experience of just vibe coding it, just telling it what I want. I didn't even type anything. I did it all with my voice, just like in Star Trek. Like I mentioned, there's a million features I would like to add to this. There's a million improvements to make, but in just 1 hour, I was able to code up a pretty half-decent app here. I'm talking down. This is a great app. It's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. So this has been a wonderful first experience. I hope we'll do some more of these projects on this channel. We'll get back to some Reacts also, but I just really wanted to run this experiment and see how it went, and pretty blown away, pretty happy. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.